Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So we got an interesting video for you. SSD, NVMe as well, and a 7200 RPM 3.5 inch drive, 1 terabyte, and a 1 terabyte 5400 RPM, basically a laptop drive or 2.5 inch mechanical drive. We're going to do testing in the real world here to see how long it actually takes to copy files from one to the next. Okay? Now, I've speed checked the external, which is plugged into a USB 3.2 port, so that's going to be pretty much the equivalent to a straight SATA line. My testing on the Toshiba 1 terabyte drive is 109.3 read and write speed of 64.5. My red stick here, the gamer stick, now I don't know why the box says it's reading or it's writing at 3000, because the box itself physically in my hand here says we have a read speed of 3500 and a write speed of 2300. Now that's megabytes per second, not megabits, it's megabytes. So 3500 megabytes, that's like 3.5 gigs per second read and 3 gigs per second write if you're going to take it at that number, but otherwise we're talking like 2.3 gigabytes write per second, which is absolutely ludicrous. So I think it's more like megabits per second. It's just they didn't mark it as megabits, because megabits is actually MBITS and megabytes is MB/S. So the numbers can really mess people up, and so can the MB stuff, right? So anyways, our Kingston drive comes in at 500 read, 450 write. The Western Digital terabyte drive that's sitting inside here, 3.5 inch, doesn't tell us anything other than it's SATA, 6 tera, what is it? Up to 6, oh that's capacity, specs. 7200 interface is just a SATA 6 gigabyte per second SATA interface. It doesn't give us any kind of speeds of it. And anyways, we can always do a speed check program later to get an idea, but it's not going to be much faster than my Toshiba. My Toshiba is like 109.3 read and 64.5 write, and that's on this drive here. Which is a SATA serial ATA, and we've got it plugged into the USB 3.2 bus on my tower. So let's do some real world testing, shall we? So I'm going to take all the files from here, I'm going to go copy, and I'm going to put them into the slower drive first, into what's called a test 1 folder. So we're going to go paste. And we're going to see how long it's going to take. Now it says 1 minute and 15 seconds to do this copy. So we'll see. Now it's telling us what the speed is that's going on here. And it's hopping back and forth, and I suspect this is like a reading and writing speed differential. It's actually doing pretty good. It's not coming across too many bottlenecks here. Right now it's peaking pretty good at 117, 118. That's not bad. Staying pretty steady. At the beginning you can see it kind of fluctuates up and down a bit. Not bad. So this is test 1. Now, copy this. Now, this is our 2.5 inch. So we're going to go copy, and we're going to put it back into the D drive. Now, the D drive is going to be faster on its write capabilities. we know that the read capability of the Toshiba external drive is 109.3, and that's hooked up as a USB device. So let's paste. So it's coming from the F drive now to the dump drive E. So it's actually doing a little bit better. I like watching the bar graphs as it copies across, because it gives you a pretty good idea of, any place where it has little struggle points, and where it's maxing out really good. Okay, so now we're going to go copy from here. This is our dump drive, which is a 1 terabyte 3.5 inch drive. And we're going to paste that into our 120 gig SSD. So we've got pretty exceptional read speeds off of the dump drive, and the write speeds are doing extremely well. I mean, this is just rocking. And we're done. So now we're going to copy this, and we're going to go to our C drive, which is our NVMe drive. Now this drive is actually write direct on the motherboard. It's one that I installed to the motherboard, so the bus connector is actually on the motherboard. Okay, so let's go paste. So from the 120, which has a read of 500, it's actually about 4 and change. That's motoring really good. And we're done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rename this folder Test 2. Okay? So we're going to go copy. We're going to go backwards now. C to D. Okay? So we know our read speed is 3500 rating. Yeah, 3500 on the NVMe. And the write speed on this drive, well, we've already talked about that at the beginning of the video. So this is actually bottlenecking a little. It's actually taking a lot longer for the write. So it's trying to shove it in there, but it's kind of like going, you know? Okay, so now we're going to go copy here, and we're going to go to F. Actually, no, we need D. Yes, we need D. Oh, we just did D. Oh, no, D is a 120. E. Yes, we need to go to E. Okay, so D. Yep, that's test 2. Okay, so copy. And we're going to go from there to the dump drive. Now the dump drive is 7200 RPM. And it's 3.5 inch drive. The whole point of this is that when you run these benchmark programs, they give you an idea, but a lot of people don't really understand those real numbers per se, as far as what does this really mean? It's fast, that's all we know, or it's slow, that's all we know. This gives you a real world comparison from one kind of platform to the next. You know, so you've got an SSD in here, you've got an NVMe, and then you've got two different speed levels of mechanical drives, because one's a 3.5 and one's a 2.5 inch. So we're going to copy from here now, and we need to go to back to this drive again. So we're going mechanical to mechanical, so we're going 7200 RPM down to a 5400 RPM mechanical. So now we're definitely going to be taking some time here to choke that back. The write speed on this mechanical drive was benchmarked at 64.5. So hopefully you can see that when it comes to an NVMe drive, they are definitely the fastest with the least amount of bottleneck there. Okay, the SSDs, of course, they're kind of restricted up to 600 megabytes per second, and that's it for the buses. And you're not going to get that kind of speed out of a mechanical drive on a SATA bus, you know, because it's the bus that's more restricted, but the SSD itself has its restricted limits. And then of course you've got the mechanical drives. They have their limitations, the drives themselves. Even though they're SATA, you know, I mean I could take this drive and I can install it inside my computer, and we're not going to really see any improvement in this last test, or going from the beginning over. It's really not going to be much of a benchmark difference in test for copying files. If anything, it might be about 2 seconds difference in being quicker, being direct to the SATA port with a mechanical drive. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this actually helped you understand the real-time speeds and transfer rates of drives. There's a lot of confusion about megabytes and megabits per second and all that other jazz. You know, we definitely know that NVMe is the top winner. SSD drives, next in line, of course, below. 7200 RPM drives are below that, and of course the epitome of pathetic is the 5400 RPM. So if you're thinking about doing an upgrade on your computer, if you do not have an NVMe port in your computer, there are cards you can get for desktops that will allow you to adapt an NVMe to the PCI bus, providing you have the supported bus for it, for that card adapter, so that you can use the NVMe stick. If you have it on board on your motherboard like I do for the NVMe, it's a direct plug and go, and it's the fastest you're going to get, period. And then of course, you know, you look at the other SSD. There's an SSD casing that looks like a normal SSD drive on the outside, except it will support one, and there's one that actually supports 2 NVMe sticks in the same SATA slot casing, and they're like really inexpensive to buy, but it's another way to get an NVMe on a SATA bus if you can't do it any other way. Now, you're still going to have some speed restrictions, obviously, because you're going off of SATA, and a SATA bus line is only 600 megabits per second, I think, or 600 megs per second, or megabits, whatever, restriction, where the NVMe has not got that restriction. It's kind of like the sky's the limit at this point. They are like the fastest things we've got, you know, and that's actually kind of cool. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do the best I can to answer them, as always. If you want to see more in-depth testing on, you know, other stuff with this, you know, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do or can't do for you for testing. But otherwise, I think this showed a very good, fair, one against the other versus thing, to give you an idea what you can expect out of these different types of drive platforms going both directions, back and forth. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will definitely catch you guys on the next one. See ya.